begin with the breaking news. Trayvon Martin's family and supporters soon may get what they've been demanding, the arrest of George Zimmerman. A senior law enforcement source tells CNN the neighborhood watch volunteer who shot and killed the unarmed Florida teenager, only 17 years old, will be charged in his death. The special prosecutor will hold a briefing about 1 hour from now in Jacksonville, Florida. You're looking at live pictures where that briefing will take place. Let's bring in our senior legal analyst, Jeffrey Toobin. He's joining us also, our other legal analyst, the former prosecutor, Sonny Hosted. Let me begin with you, Sonny. What do we know exactly, if anything specific, about the charge or charges that will be filed?
Well, we're hearing, Wolf, that one single charge will be filed. That's what's being reported. I haven't confirmed that, but that does make sense when you look at the facts as we know them. And again, to be sure, Angela Corey, who, in my view, by now must have conducted a very thorough investigation, knows a lot more about the facts of this case than I know. But in looking at the facts that are sort of in the public domain at this point, it would appear to me that manslaughter would be the type of charge that one would file in a case like this. That's a non-intentional killing, and I think anything more than that could be perceived as overcharging this case and would possibly be difficult to prove, especially in light of Florida's stand your ground law. What kind of years in prison, if convicted of manslaughter, would he face? Depending on how they charge it, Wolf, I'm looking at the statute now, and I believe it would be about 10 years. 10 years. So, Jeffrey, manslaughter is clearly easier to prove, as Sonny points out, than murder in the first or second degree. And I guess the question is that you agree with Sonny that it's likely to be manslaughter?
Probably. The definition of manslaughter is unintentional homicide. And I think given the circumstances, I think it's very unlikely that anyone could argue that Zimmerman premeditated, that he went out there that night to kill Trayvon Martin or anyone else. But it is still obviously a very serious crime to kill someone recklessly, which is usually the word used when it comes to manslaughter. The facts are going to determine this case. The jury's going to determine this case. You know, the one thing we know for sure is that it shouldn't be determined on cable news. The jury should hear evidence, and that looks like where we're going to head on this. All right, guys, stand by for a second. Martin Savage is in Sanford, Florida for us. He's been reporting on this story from the beginning. We're going to go to him in a moment. Actually, we've lost connections with Martin, but we'll get back to him. Sonny, tell us a little bit about this special prosecutor. We know that the Florida Governor, Rick Scott, appointed her back in March 23rd, I think, to be the special prosecutor in this case. We know that she decided earlier in the week not to seek a grand jury action as far as George Zimmerman is concerned. What else do we know about this woman? Well, we know she's a career prosecutor, Wolf. She's been doing this for quite some time. Apparently, she's tried hundreds of cases, including over 50 homicide cases. Many people say that she has this sort of very tough prosecutorial bent. And in the time that she's been the state attorney in Jacksonville, Florida, even though the crime rate has gone down, there's been an increase in the county jail prison population. And many people attribute that directly to Angela Corey. She's a devout Episcopalian, and something that's sometimes considered a no-no for prosecutors. When she is making statements about her cases, she often says things like, "I'm praying for," or "we are very blessed." So that's something that seems to be rather unique for Angela Corey. Also interesting is that her career hasn't been without controversy, because she is responsible for charging 12-year-old Christian Fernandez as an adult in a homicide case. He is the youngest person in Florida ever to have been charged as an adult. She took a lot of heat for making that charging decision. And what happened with that case? It's still pending. It's still pending. But again, in speaking to her detractors, she stood firm by that decision to charge him as an adult. And that tells many people that she won't be persuaded by public opinion, by political pressure. She really is considered to be someone, as a prosecutor, that stands by her own gut. Yeah, she's obviously a tough prosecutor. I think Martin Savage is now joining us from Sanford, Florida. Set the scene for us there, because Sanford is where all of this took place.
Absolutely right. And this is a community that is, I guess you could say, at the epicenter now, very anxious to hear what is the decision, what's coming down from Angela Curry. At this particular moment, I had a conversation with the mayor. I asked him, were they ready? Were they standing by? His single answer back to me was, we are prepared. That preparation has actually been weeks in the undertaking. They have been talking to other aspects of law enforcement, whether it be on the county level, Seminole County in particular, the EEOC. They've been meeting regularly there. That's the Emergency Operations Center. They've been reaching out to other police departments should they need any kind of backup reinforcement, reaching out to fire departments. And they are, of course, hoping that things will be for the best, but they do have to prepare just in case. So they say that they're ready. We've noticed here, we're on the edge of Goldsboro. That is the historically black part of Sanford, Florida. There's been a lot more traffic here, a lot of people going back and forth. They understand that people are beginning to gather or will soon be gathering at a church just down the street because they will be waiting to hear. So definitely there's a charge going through this community. A lot of people are now aware something significant is going to be revealed, and like everyone else, we wait.
Yeah, because as you point out, they say they're prepared for the reaction. I saw the governor of Florida, Rick Scott, issued a statement saying, I trust in the goodness of all Florida citizens to allow our justice system to reach an appropriate conclusion in this case. Is the implication here, Martin, that if in fact he is charged, let's say with manslaughter in connection with the death of Trayvon Martin, that Zimmerman's supporters might react negatively in the sense of being angered by all of this, and there could be protests from Zimmerman's supporters and friends? Is that what the concern might be?
I think, the greatest concern is that if in any way Zimmerman could be cleared of all charges. And that, of course, is a possibility that could be out there. Emotions have been running high. No one is suggesting that there will be violence either way. The mayor certainly doesn't believe there will be violence. They have had many demonstrations. They've had thousands of people through this community. Every one of those demonstrations has been peaceful. There has not been a single arrest. There was an attempt by a group to have a number of their members arrested here at the police station. That confrontation was totally avoided. The only serious consequence we should point out is the Sanford police car outside of the neighborhood where Trayvon Martin was shot was itself shot up by someone very early in the morning yesterday. And that is of concern, no doubt about it. But it's the only incident so far in 44 days of what's been a very emotional case on both sides.
All right, stand by for a moment, Martin. Mark James is joining us on the phone right now. He's a Florida attorney, very familiar with all the Florida laws in a connection like this. So what's going through your mind, Mark, right now as we await the formal announcement from the special prosecutor?
Well, this is obviously a very serious case, and I'd like to, if I might for a second, Sunny was indicating she was flipping through the statute, and she was very right, except we've got provisions in Florida which really make this charge far more serious than 10 years. And although if you're looking at her sentencing guidelines and all that, she was right on, but because of certain aggravating factors, Florida law is even more aggravated than the 10 years. And what that is that Trayvon being 17 years old, he would be a minor, and there's an aggravator if, in fact, there's a manslaughter charge. It would be aggravated manslaughter, taking this from a second-degree felony to a first-degree felony. Moreover, we have 10-20 life, and because there was a firearm used which caused great injury, or in this case death, then, in fact, we're probably looking at a mandatory minimum 25 years to life if convicted.
But if she charged a 12-year-old as an adult, I assume if she's going to go ahead and charge George Zimmerman, a 17-year-old, he would be charged as an adult. Don't you think, Mark?
What I'm saying is that because there's a special status given to the victim, so because Trayvon was under 18 years old, then in fact a manslaughter would be elevated to an aggravated manslaughter.
I see what you mean. Yeah. In other words, because Trayvon Martin was only 17 years old.
Like if it was a battery, it's one level, but if it's battery on a law enforcement officer, because of the status of the victim, the charge is aggravated. The same thing would be applicable here.
I understand. So your sense is, and you know Florida law about as well as any attorney down there, and you've represented some high-profile clients over the years, that if in fact it's a one count of manslaughter, he potentially could face, 20, 30 years in prison? Is that what you're saying? 25 to life, yes.
25 to life. If they charge him manslaughter with the firearm causing death, then yes, which would be very serious. So just because there's a manslaughter charge, I think people might think, oh, well, that's a lot less than second degree. From all the facts that have come out, and we don't have all the facts, but it does appear that manslaughter would be the more appropriate charge. There's a lot of discussion about how Angela Corey and that in Duval County, where Jacksonville is located, they typically charge the highest offense, which would be in this instance second degree. Well, there's not a great big difference between second degree and aggravated manslaughter when a death is caused by a gun. So to me, so that they would avoid charges of overcharging, as Sonny very appropriately brought out earlier, then it should be a manslaughter charge. But because of Trayvon being 17 and a gun caused the death, there's still a massive penalty if convicted.
All right, Mark Nejam, I want you to stand by. Sonny Hostin, Jeff Toobin, Martin Savage. We're watching what's going on, a dramatic moment right now in the Trayvon Martin case. We're standing by to hear from the prosecutor in the case. She's widely expected to announce at least one criminal charge, if not more, against the man who shot and killed Trayvon Martin. We're talking about George Zimmerman.